In the tapestry of life, where every thread holds a story, America in black and white emerges as a haven for the voices echoing through the heart of our communities. In this podcast, we wade through the rivers of our collective experiences, celebrating the vibrant hues of change brought forth by the whispers of hope and the roars of action. It's more than just a conversation. It's a journey into the heart of our society, illuminated by the light of those daring to dream and do. Join us, and let your voice be the melody that guides us toward a dawn where every color finds its place in the masterpiece of our shared destiny. Together, let's paint a future brimming with the positives that dwell in our minds and the actions that shape our world.
Good evening, family, and welcome to another transformative episode of America in Black and White, where truth meets testimony and where the lived experiences of our people become the blueprint for collective healing and progress. I'm your host, Charles Zachary King, and tonight we are shining a light on a woman whose life's work stands at the intersection of compassion, leadership, and community restoration. In a world where trauma too often goes unseen and unaddressed, there are individuals who step into the gap, who refuses to let pain have the final word. Our guest tonight is one of those rare leaders. Dr. Delilah Y. Hood is a professor, an entrepreneur, a community advocate, and a visionary whose commitment to service is not just professional, it is personal, spiritual, and deeply rooted in legacy. From earning degrees across business, psychology, sociology, social work, and healthcare administration to founding Family Resolution and Empowerment Services over a decade ago, Dr. Hood has built a life centered on empowering survivors, strengthening families, and restoring communities. Her partnership with the Indianapolis Metropolitan Police Department has created a lifeline for non-fatal survivors of gun violence, connecting them to counseling, mentorship, grief support, and the wraparound services needed to rebuild their lives. She is also the founder of Grandparents Raising Grandkids Foundation, a nonprofit that uplifts the often overlooked heroes raising the next generation. And as an adjunct professor at Marian University St. Joseph's College, she pours her wisdom into the classroom, shaping future leaders with the same passion she brings to the community. But beyond the titles and accolades, Dr. Hood is a woman shaped by powerful influences. Her mother, Charlie May, and the incomparable Dr. Joan McClennan, two Black women whose strength, intellect, and unwavering belief in her help mold the leader we celebrate tonight. So settle in, family. Tonight's conversation is about healing, leadership, legacy, and the power of Black women who build, who nurture, and who transform communities from the inside out. Ladies and gentlemen, Dr. Hood.
Good evening, Mr. King.
Hey, Dr. Hood, your
My
camera.
camera is not on. Okay, what is wrong with my camera? Apologize. Okay. There we go. Good evening, Mr. King.
Good evening, and how are you?
I am doing great. I can't complain.
Well, I want to thank you for taking the time to spend some time with us so people can get to know the wonderful things you do, but also the people in your community can know what it is, the commitment that you have to it to help build it and make it transformative. Is there anything you'd like to say to our audience before we get going into the show?
Yes, first, I would like to give honor to God. And then, second, I would like to thank my family who has shared with me that they're tuning in and friends. And I would like to thank you for this opportunity to be here on your podcast. I really appreciate it. And I'm looking forward to this evening.
Well, I definitely appreciate that, and I'm ready to dive in because, as I was reading your
Mhm.
bio is very inspiring.
Thank
And
you.
what I'd like to do is I like to start off by let's going back into your life story so people can get to know you and how things started for you that got you to this point.
Yes,
Um,
absolutely.
Go
Go
ahead.
ahead. No, you go ahead.
So, when you reflect on your early years, what
Mhm.
experiences shaped your passion for service and community care?
Yeah, when I reflect on my earlier years, I would say it started with my mother. I'd
Mhm.
have to say go all the way back from my childhood, through the years, I watched her. My mother was a minister, and just watching her, work with children and people in the ministry and just her life, period. She just inspired me with her knowledge and just all that she did. My mother, she only had a ninth grade education, and you would have thought she had a college degree. But I just, she inspired me, and just through the years, just the people that God blessed me to have in my life. From a child all the way up until adulthood, whether it be from school teachers to even my siblings. I'm the youngest of five. And so I learned a lot from my siblings, to professors that I've had through the years. All of these people and just other leaders have shaped me to in who I am today.
So, what are some of those things that you learned from your mother and your siblings that really jump-started your feeling about a community and building it and servicing people?
Yeah, it goes back to my mother. I tell you, that woman she was something to reckon with. Again, like I shared, my mother only had a ninth grade education, but Um, she had an entrepreneur spirit. I tell you, I remember as a little girl, my stepfather was a foreman on a farm. And so every summer, my mother would get the contract to manage a cotton field. And so a lot of my young people on here listening probably don't know about some of this, but they're going to learn today. But she would get the contract to manage a cotton field, and so and what that entailed was she would. Of course, we lived on a farm. She would go into town, nearest to the farm where we lived, and she would gather people would get on the truck, and we had cars, and they would get in the cars, and she'd take them back to the farm. And so what you do is when you have a contract over a cotton field, you're taking a hoe, and you're pulling up wild weed from the cotton. And so you start from the beginning of the row and you go to the end of the row. And so I was probably about anywhere from 9, 10, 11 years old through for those years that she did it. And I watched her manage that from beginning to end. And of course, I was the flower girl, and not the flower girl. Sorry, I was the water girl. Not the flower girl. So I was the water girl. And so I would I would take the water, and I would walk up and down the rows, and see if anybody needed water or whatnot. And then around lunchtime, um, we would take a break, of course, and people would eat their lunch. And let me tell you what my mother would do, and then I'll come back to that part there. Every night, every evening, when we would take people back home, we come home ourselves, and she'd make sure myself, my stepfather had our dinner, and then my mother and I would stay up, and we would make. I mean, this is all part of this entrepreneur mind that she had. She and I would make sandwiches and chips, and she would put chips in the bags, and sodas, and she'd put them in the bags, and she'd sell these brown lunch bags for, like, back then I think they were like 2.75, $3 a bag. But um and so she always was thinking of ways to make money. And so for people who did not bring their lunch, she would have those sack lunches to offer. And so if they didn't have the money, if they couldn't afford it, she would just take it out of their pay at the end of the day, because doing that kind of work, you got paid every day at the end of the day, just in case you didn't come back the next day, because that was some hard work. It was hot in that heat, and so a lot of people just couldn't come back every day, so with that kind of work, you pay every day to make sure people got paid. And so I watched as a little girl, like I said, from 9 to about 11 years old. I watched her do that in the summertime and manage. The owner of the farm would give her a lump sum of money that she had to manage and make that stretch for the whole summer and pay all of her helpers. And she just, again, watching her do that. And then fast forwarding, keep in mind, with a ninth grade education, I watched my mom go and get her CNA. She always wanted to be a nurse, and so she went back and got her CNA. And I watched her also get her insurance license. She was a recruiter. She wasn't licensed, because even back then you had to be licensed to sell insurance. And so, but you could be a recruiter. You could recruit salesmen, and you didn't have to be licensed. So that's what she did for Primerica. And so just watching her do that, and at the time, as a young girl and as a teenager, I didn't understand then, but what she was instilling in me was entrepreneurship. And
Mhm.
Mr. King, that's where I got it from. I got it from watching my mother right there at home. And it wasn't until I became a young adult, and then when you look back, on your life, and it's like, wait a minute, I had a trailblazer just right there, my mother. And she always did more than one thing. She did not just do one job, as you heard me, talk about, go from the beginning when she managed the cotton field and how she made sack lunches. She was always thinking of ways to make money. And so what we talk about today, we talk about income streams, how we need to have more than one income stream. Little that I knew she was teaching that to me even then, about income streams. Don't just have one thing that you're doing as your means of income, but have other skills and other things that you do to make income.
Mhm. So, what did young Delilah dreaming of becoming, and how close it is? How close is that to the woman you are today?
Yes, I would say that young Delilah, I was always that curious one. And my siblings, I know they're on here watching, so I know they can vouch for that. I was that one that they all looked up to, that Delilah's gonna go all the way. She's gonna get her, high school diploma, and then she's gonna go on, she's gonna go to college. So with having them older siblings, and then, like I said, some of those people that other people in my life that inspired me, I knew that I was going to someday have a college degree. And I did just that. I was the first one of my mother's children to get a college degree. And so that was breaking barriers in my family. And that meant a lot to my family for me to get a college degree, and to be the first, because again, I broke barriers in my family. They're up.
That's
Don't
that.
make me don't make me cry, y'all.
That's a good thing. And when you have a strong support system like that, it actually energizes you, and it makes you want to do more.
Yes.
So I mean, like, how often do you and your siblings actually sometimes get together and you guys like talk about those things when you guys were growing up to now, and how fortunate you guys were to have your parents that did
Yeah.
such great things for you?
Absolutely. Actually, earlier today, my sister and I, we literally just had that conversation. But as far as all of us, my mother had 5 children, and all 5 of us, thank God, we're still living. We're here in the land of the living, and I'm grateful for that. Um, the last time we were together, and it had been a while, we lost our mother December 11th of 2020. And unfortunately, after that loss, it took some time for us all to come together and to be together again in one room. Usually it would be two or three of us or whatnot, but to have all five of us together again, that happened about 3 months ago. And so we we always talk about our childhood growing up. Of course, they tend to leave me out is because they're a lot older than me. So the things they talk about is what they did together, the four of them, before I came along. But they always, even the things I could not remember as a child, they always reminded me of how loved that, I was and am, and also the spoiled child that I was growing up. Being, the sister that's was the baby before me, she is a 7-year gap, and then everybody else would be over 10 years, older than me. So
Oh,
my
wow.
three, yes, my three
Little was the
sisters.
baby.
Yes, my mother was older when she had me. So my three sisters, all three were like my mother, and my brother was like my father. So, so you can imagine, not that I'm spoiled like that today, but but I was very loved, and I had a lot of older people in my life that just poured wisdom into me and knowledge. And so that was the advantage I had being around, having older siblings and being around older people, was the wisdom and knowledge that I got to be so blessed to have instilled and poured into me.
So, how did your upbringing influence your understanding of resilience and leadership?
Yeah. Again, I just want to say, watching, life wasn't always peaches and cream, for us growing up. You know, at some point, my mother was a single mom raising five kids. And she did what she had to do to support us. And I can't even the older ones, they can vouch for this. We can't even remember a time that we can ever say we were hungry or we were homeless or didn't have anything. She worked two jobs. She would work by day and then work at a factory in the daytime. And then she, work. And this was before, she married my stepfather, when she was single. And then she worked at a place called, I remember, Scotty's Trucking by night. But she did what she had to do to make sure we had what we needed. But the struggle was real.
Yeah.
And so looking at that, I'm grateful that we were never homeless, and I don't ever remember a time being hungry. But I still looked at my mother struggle. I still look at how hard it was for her, and you know being the youngest, the time she, I'm sure, wanted to spend with me, but couldn't because she had to work. And, I had to be with my older siblings. But just looking at that, and I believe that a lot of that. And then when I think back even on my father, on my dad was a Vietnam veteran. And he, he and my mom separated. They were no longer together. By the time I was about a year old, he moved to Miami, Florida, and that's where he lived. And I remember we, communicated by phone, and that's how we kept in touch. Until I was about 12 years old. And then he came to visit me. But I remember my dad being a Vietnam veteran. As you know, back then they didn't have the support that these veterans have now. They didn't, they suffered PTSD, and they didn't have social workers and people who could counsel them and help them. And so my dad, he had all those issues. He dealt with all of that. And he had drug habit, that he was an abuser. So just looking back at all of that, and the struggles that my mom went through, I believe that is probably one of the reasons why I wanted to go in the field of social work, because I wanted to be that person. It's like I couldn't save my dad, and I couldn't, change things of the things that my mom did go through. Couldn't change all that, but I knew I could help the lives of others. And so that was my main motivation, for wanting to be a social worker, is just to help people. And I just naturally just have a love to serve. And again, I would say I got that from my mother, um, to serve and just to help people.
So, what role did education play in your personal transformation?
Yeah. So again, let's start with my years of social work. I have more than 16 years working in the field of social work. I've worked in behavior health to um, working with children and geriatric population to working in acute setting in the hospital, and working with a very diverse group of patients, and working with the treatment team to get patients discharged. I've done that, from leadership roles to um, working training psychiatrists and nurse practitioners on proper documentation, to helping build mobile counties in the behavior health field. Um, that and Gosh, I've done so much over the 16 years with social work. And then I knew that I wanted to go on and um establish a business, establish clinics. And so that was one of the reasons I went back to school to get my doctorate degree in healthcare administration, is because I want, it's my goal to establish clinics, small clinics.
Okay. So, you pursued multiple degrees across different disciplines.
Mhm.
What drove that hunger for knowledge?
What drove that hunger for knowledge? Again, I would say I remember when I was 12 years old
Hmm.
and my dad came to visit me, and he set me on his lap and he looked me in my eyes and he said, Delilah, it's two things I remember very vividly that he said to me. He said, I want you to always take care of your mother. And he said, and I want you to get the highest level of education that you can possibly get.
Oh, wow.
I never forgot his words. I was 12 years old then. So not only that, it was important that I go to school and be the first to get a college degree of my mother's children, but it was important to me to keep my dad's word, to honor what he said to me. And every year, every degree that I got, even when it got hard, even times when I was pregnant and having to walk in the rain from class to class or inclement weather, I didn't give up. I kept going because I kept his words in my mind, in my heart, to get the highest level of education that I could get. And I did just that. I did that not only for myself, my family, but I did it for my dad.
So, as we're doing this wonderful show tonight, and as you're looking into the cameras, what is it that you can tell our audience? What is and what was Delilah's motivation? What's that motivation?
My motivation is my love for people and enhancing and improving the lives of others. Um, I just want to say this, Mr. King. Um, let's talk about my business, Family Resolution and Empowerment Services LLC. I established that business 12 years ago, um, in Missouri, and I've been in the state of Indiana. I've resided here for a little over 5 years, almost 6 years, and I hadn't done much with that business since I've been here. And the opportunity, the door opened for me to partner with the Indianapolis Metropolitan Police Department to work with non-fatal survivors and their families. And that right there is important. That is important to me, is because that's going to give me the opportunity to work with an at-risk population and their families, offering them support, offering them the services that they need, the intervention that they need to hopefully turn their life around to where they don't want to go back out there picking up a gun again, and that they want to improve. Here where I live in Indiana, gun violence and youth and gun violence is pretty, the rate is pretty high here. If you rank us compare nationally, we rank somewhere around 15 to 20 out of all the, nationally, out of all the states. That's pretty high. So gun violence is an ongoing issue here. So for me to have that opportunity to work with that population, I just thank God for choosing me to utilize my experiences, my skills to help work with other partners and the IMPD to help change some things in our community.
So, what challenges did you face as a Black woman navigating higher education?
I would say the challenges that I faced as a Black woman getting my education, and I have had to be transparent, I have had my challenges. I will not call out a name of a university, but I was enrolled at a university that I felt I was unfairly treated and opposed to my counterparts. And that being said, it led me into not giving up, because I wasn't going to give up. And, I'm trying to get her, Maya Angelou. I'm having a brain fart, Mr. King. Maya Angelou, she said it best. She said, "We may encounter many defeats, but we will not be defeated." And so I went through, that came to mind. I couldn't get her name out, but it came to my heart about when she said that. And one thing I knew, nobody's going to stop Delilah from getting her doctorate degree. That's not going to happen.
That's what's up.
That's not going to happen. And so I went through what I went through, and being the resilient person that I am, and the person that how I was raised to be, I said, you know what? I'm going to find me another college that I can go to and not have to deal with these adversities. And that's what I did. And I enrolled into a HBCU, the best thing I could have ever did. I said, why didn't I do this at first? And I went on with no issues, no problems at all. And made it through and got my doctorate degree, and proudly walked with my head up and received my diploma.
As you mentioned that, and that's a very loaded question, and your answer as it pertains to you could not have been better stated, because the factual part of this is now here in this wonderful country, Black women have more higher education than anybody. And despite that, people still try and they try and they try to chop that off, make it as minimal as possible, refusing to give that credit. But as we look at time as it's passing and progressing, you, just like so many others, are proving the point that the resilience, the never giving up, and the can-do attitude, it makes that difference. That's what makes up the Black excellence that you're displaying right now to this day. That's what your community should be proud of. And I'm very proud of you, and I'm so happy to have you here. And I mean, that was just wonderful to hear you tell that part of your story, because a lot of people don't understand, like it's like, it's bad enough that we as Black men go through things, but we need to be there to make sure that we're uplifting the sisters and keeping the sisters moving. You
Yep,
know,
and absolutely. And I just want to add, Mr. King, not only that I had my challenge to, even obtain my doctorate degree, but even just, looking for that leadership role, and with what we as Black women are going through now, it's just not easy for us to just, submit our resume with all the education and experience we have and think that we're going to get called back and get this interview and land that role. It's just not that easy for us now. And with, again, with all that we're experiencing with, our economy and everything, and a lot of employee places are, shutting down left and right, closing the doors. And, look at what happened to us with, DEI, a lot of, Black women, was laid off and, let go. And it's like, it's like you say, what do we do from here? What do we do now? Where do we go? We've been doing this for years. This is what our degree is in, and this is all I've ever known. So what do I do? And so the advice that I want to give, as an entrepreneur and as a person who has experienced this firsthand myself, to the next Black woman, is we have got to, skill up. I would say skill up, and don't be afraid to be self-employed. Don't be afraid to start your own business. One of the things that I'm working on now, actually, I'm putting together a team to start having workshops. And in these workshops, we're going to be offering how to start your own business from A to Z. I'm going to be shedding, providing knowledge on, how to get your tax ID number, how to how to market your target population to, even if you want to be a 501c, walking you through that process, how to do that, to location. I mean, from A to Z, you will be able to start a business. I'm going to offer those workshops, and because it's important to have the proper tools that you need. You need that education and that knowledge. I mean, those are your main two things. That education and knowledge is important. And again, I just want to say, don't be afraid to start your own business. If you've had this, passion in your heart, something that you've wanted to do for years, but haven't done it, the time is now. If you've been laid off your job, displaced, whatever the situation, the time is now. Don't be afraid to start your own business. And if God has given you a vision, and one thing I know, and I know this firsthand, if God give you a vision, He's already made provision for you. He's just looking for you to make that first step, that faith walk, to just step out there and just do it.
well, I want to tell you that your support is here. Kiana is, she wants you to know she's checking in. I'll put it on the screen there.
Thank you. That's my beautiful daughter.
And here we go with another one here. This is Nima. Good job, Grandma. I'm so proud of you.
That's my grandson, my youngest.
Oh, Um,
Hi, Nehemiah.
I'm sorry. I need to keep my glasses on. There's Elijah is checking in.
Yeah, that's my oldest grandson. I love you guys so much, so much. I do what I do for those two boys, my two grandsons. They're my everything. And see, I get teary-eyed when I talk about them. They're my everything. I do what I do for them. I break barriers for them because I want them to do what Granny has done. and I want them to do more. I want them to go far greater. I don't only want them to go and get their doctorate degrees, but I want them to be all that God has called for them to be.
Well,
And I want them to see that through me
you're
and
setting a perfect
with the
example.
help of God.
You're doing that.
Thank you.
You are definitely doing that. And
Thank you.
that's what that's why that support system gets so much bigger around you, because that you don't have to worry about doing nothing but succeeding. And that's what you're doing. And we're grateful, and everybody's honored to have you here tonight anyway,
Thank
because
you.
your story makes that difference. How did your mother, Charlie Mae, shape your worldview and your sense of purpose?
Yeah, just again, like I said, and I don't mean to sound repetitive, but my mother, she was so amazing. And and a lot of times you don't realize that about your parents until you get older and you look back and you think, why did she do this? Or why did she have me doing that? Or why was she. But when they expose you to things like that, it's to make you who you are, it's to make you a better person. And so just watching, her life and, you know, um, how she only had a ninth grade education and accomplished all that she accomplished. I remember when she bought her first home on her own. Um, my dad, before he moved to Florida, he bought her a home and us five kids. But at some point, through the years, she no longer had that home. But I remember, fast forwarding, when she became single as an older adult, she again, like I said, she worked as a CNA. She worked for Primerica, and my mother would do that. And she was at this time, she was probably had to be in her late 50s, and she would get off work on Friday and she would drive to Nashville, which was about 3 hours from where she lived. And my two of my older siblings, that's where they lived, and they had cleaning businesses there. And so my mother would get off work on Friday and she would drive to Nashville, Tennessee, and help them do commercial cleaning.
Wow.
My mother did that in her late 50s. And then she would drive back on Sunday and then get up on Monday and go to her day job as a CNA. And then on the side, did sales work for Primerica. And she did that. And she called me. I remember she told me, she said, Delilah, guess what? She says, I'm finna buy a house. I'm finna buy a home. I no longer have to rent anymore. I'm finna buy a house. And I'm like, Mom, you finna buy a house. She worked hard. She got her credit right. And she was doing all that working, saving her money, just getting her money right. And this woman in her late 50s, she bought her own home. And that right there is enough to inspire, and it should be enough to inspire anyone. And so when I think back on all that she did, it's like for me, it's just not, it's not even, I can't even think about giving up on anything. I don't care how hard times get or how the struggle becomes real or how I might feel like, hey, I'm just being defeated. But again, like I said, I may encounter defeats, but I will not be defeated. It's just not in me. my
Exactly.
mother didn't my mother didn't raise me to fold. She just didn't raise me that way, but she raised me to be resilient, to keep striving, and to be strong. And whatever I want, you work hard for it, you get out there, you grind, you do what you have to do, but you go get it, you do it, you make it happen.
What is one lesson from your mother that you carry into every room you enter?
Love.
Mm.
Love. And I genuinely love.
Mhm.
And I could say this for all of my siblings, all of my siblings. My mother was a woman that, when she found, got saved and, gave her life to the Lord, she didn't do it 50%. She didn't do it 60%. She didn't do it 70%. She did it 100%. My mother gave her life to God, and she was all in. She was like I said, a minister. She was a singer. My mother sung in church. She taught Bible study, whatever needed to be done in the ministry. She did it, and she instilled that um, in me as a little girl. I remember being only 3 years old, about 3 or 4 years old, and actually, one of my older siblings sent me this picture. Um, but she was teaching me the biblical characters in the Bible. You know, everybody, all the great men and women in the Bible, instilling it in me and God's love and just love as a little girl. And so that's all I've ever known. You know, she raised me in church and to love God and to be a hard worker. And that's just who I am. That's all I've ever known.
Well, look, you have one more heartfelt comment that's in the chat, and let me put it up.
Love you, Mama. Is that my son-in-law? I think that's my son. I don't call him son-in-law. I call him son.
Cody Skinner.
That's my son. That's my son-in-law, my daughter's husband. But I call him son. In this family, there's no son-in-law. He is son.
So, can you tell us, how did Dr. Joan McClennan influence your academic and professional journey?
Yeah. So the reason I mentioned Dr. Joan McClennan, and she was one of my professors in my master's program. And I remember she and I, after the program, she and I still kept in touch. And I remember we met for lunch one afternoon. And one of the things that stuck with me that she said to me, and it stuck with me through the years and even to this day, she said, Delilah, she said, until you get the position and the role that you want in social work, and I was, again, just getting started with my master's, she said, volunteer. She said, choose places that you're passionate about and go volunteer at those places. She says, I know they don't bring you income, and I know that, you know, it's not necessarily, you know, what you want to do long term. But she said, until you land that role or get where you want to be, continue to volunteer. She said, because what that does, you're adding that to your resume. And when employers see that you have volunteered places, especially for a long period of time, and you've been faithful to that, she said, that's like working a job to them. And she said, and that goes a long way. So that stuck with me. And even to this day, I volunteer, and I do it because I'm a server, and not that I do it because I want to be taken advantage of or anything, but I do it is because I know it's not always about the paycheck. It's not always about the money, but it's about getting experience. You get work experience, and employers do look at that. They look at your volunteer work that you've done. And what I would say to someone who has been displaced or in between jobs right now, if you're not that person who want to be self-employed or desire to start something of your own, choose a place in your community that you're passionate about and see if they have any volunteer opportunities. And if they do have volunteer opportunities, go volunteer. Go volunteer, because that very place that you're volunteering at could be that very place you end up with a great position, a leadership role. So please volunteer. Don't just stay home and, you know, submit resumes day in and day out and feel frustrated and feel defeated. Don't let that happen to you. Go and volunteer. Go in your community, because there's plenty of places out there that can always use your help, your skills, and what you bring into their environment, even if it's just your smile and your presence. But go volunteer, and you'll be surprised what just volunteering, the doors that it will open for you. and again, could be your next leadership role.
So tell us, what does legacy mean to you, and how do you see yourself building one?
Yeah, so legacy to me is everything that I've said to you and to the audience this evening is letting those who love you, those in your community, um, those that you're advocating for, let them see that all that you do, you're doing it not only out of passion, but you're doing it, you're letting them see that you're out there, you're working hard to make change, to make a difference. Um, and for me and my family, being educated so that the next generation can see that all those things that they want to attain, all those goals that they want to attain, they're attainable. It's all feasible, but you have got to have the mindset and the drive and the motivation. And so the legacy that I want to leave to my children and my grandchildren and those in my who know me is my love. Remember me for my love, my hard work, my resilience, and my compassion.
Wow. Um, let's transition over to your work in social work.
Mhm.
Um, can you tell us what first drew you to the field of social work?
Yeah. Again, like I said, not to be repetitive, just watching through the years of the struggles my mother did go through, and then also knowing the addictions that my father had, that, and then just I remember before I got my social work degree, I owned daycares. I owned two child care learning centers. One of them was licensed for 60 children, and the other one was licensed for, I know it's an odd number, but for 34 children because of the capacity, the building that I had. I was only licensed for 34 in that one. And so with both centers, I managed, or my directors, I was the owner of those centers, and I had two directors. Um, but I managed with both of them. I had let's see, 24 and about 12, probably about 40 employees, because in that, of course, in that line of work, you're doing a child adult ratio, so you have to have more staff. So just doing that work for the years that I did it, and working with the families that I worked with, and just through the daycare, just hearing about a lot of their adversities and their situations. A lot of, my clientele, because of where I was located, where my centers were located, it was in a, low income area. And a lot of, my families were single moms, and I had quite a few single dads, and just hearing how it was for them. And so when I was no longer, when I no longer owned my daycares, I thought to myself, I want to continue this work. I want to continue to work with families, and making a impact in their lives. And so that was another reason that I went into the field of social work, because I wanted to continue to work in the community and work with families to, better their lives, to enhance their lives.
So, how do you define trauma informed care in the context of your work?
Yeah, so that could be that could entail children that have been abused. They have seen parents use drugs. That could be the physical abuse that they've endured, um, whether it be physical, sexual. Um, all that is trauma, and all of that, once you've experienced that type of trauma, it takes years, if not for the rest of your life, to you know, get past those types of traumas. Um, that's what I define as trauma in community, when you're working with populations and families and children that have experienced, that, and then domestic violence. I've worked with all those populations. I've been exposed to all of it. You name it, I've been exposed to it, and I've had to step in there and intervene and help those families, with the work that I've done in the different capacities that I've been in, whether it's been self-employed as a contractor or working for an employer. And then I want to talk about currently, the recent partnership that I've just have just taken on with the Indianapolis Metropolitan Police Department. This population, working with non-fatal survivors. These are people who have been shot at but survived. These are people that children have seen someone be shot or have experienced some sort of violence of some sort. That's trauma. All that is trauma. And so this is the population that, I will be working with to provide them, not only, just wraparound services, but, if they need individual family counseling, I'm going to have quite a few young men, between the ages of 8 and 36 that I'll be working with. They're gonna need mentorship. They're gonna need other males to work with them and pour into their life, and just be there for them. Let them know that they're not alone with going through the trauma that they've experienced. So yeah.
So, in thinking about the work that you do, because I'm sure that there are lots and lots of things that you see where, the trauma has got to be really dramatic. And knowing that you have so much empathy and sympathy and caring for people, how do you how do you get to the point that you try to separate your personal feelings, from the work, because that's got to be pretty hard.
It is. I'm not going to tell you it's easy, because it isn't. You've got to be a certain personality. Everybody can't, do this work. Everybody can't do this type of work. But for me, I believe that my walk with God and my faith is what has helped me through the years be able to know how to help people pour into their life, but also know how to not let it overwhelm or drown me, or pull me down to where find myself somewhere in a depressed state of mind, thinking about all the adversities other people have gone through. But again, like I said, I believe my connection, my personal relationship with God is, and I know what has kept me grounded and what has kept me stable and kept me strong, and to be able to continue to work with people through the years that has experienced these types of traumas and adversities.
Well, you've got a couple more comments here. And if you'd like to any of these, you can respond to them if you'd like. Here is one from S. Looney.
Yes,
Such an inspiring interview.
she's an amazing friend of mine. I call her sister. I just love her so much. She's been one of my inspirations too. She has poured into me a lot, and she's one of my confidants. And Cheryl, I love you. I appreciate you, and thank you for being my friend and my sister through the years. I don't know how I would have made it through some of the things I've made it through if it wasn't for you. So thank you, Cheryl. Thank you.
This one is from your sister. So impressed with you, sis.
Is that I don't have my glasses. Is that Emma?
Emma Hill. Yes.
Yeah, yep, Emma. Again, one of my mothers. I tell you, they don't play about me. You know, even though I say they one of my mothers, but they also look at me, they look up to me too.
Mhm.
So it's both ways, but they're the ones who kept my hair done, who made sure I stayed clean, kept my clothes, nice clothes on or whatever, made sure I had food to eat. My brother, he's the chef of the family. We all cook, but my brother is the chef of the family. And so he would make sure us girls, he'd go in there and get in that kitchen and he'll whip up something with a little of something. But he would make it happen. But yeah, I love you, Emma. And thank you for always being there for me. And so, yeah.
This is from Casey. It says, from your sister Barbara, she's watching live but cannot comment. I am so proud of you, Delilah.
Yes, yes. That's one of my big sisters. She's second to the oldest. That's mama. She's the mama. She's the one that, yeah, she's the one that I always lived with. So I remember back when she lived in Dallas. And so she moved me there with her and put me in school and enrolled me in high school there. So she's like, you coming here, you're staying with me. And so, but she was always also another one of my sisters' mama that made sure I had school clothes. Her and my brother, they both always made sure that I had school clothes and made sure that, they've always motivated me to be the best person I could possibly be. And my sister Barbara, she beat me to being an author. I'm still, look, look, Mr. King, I'm still working on a book. Look, I done went and got a doctorate degree and started working on a book last year, got off that book, got on another book, still working on the book. And she done wrote 3 books. She done wrote 2 or 3. I'm working on her 3rd book.
Oh, wow. Congratulations, Barbara.
Yes, congratulations to my sister. She's a 3rd-time author, or will be. And so I'm proud of her. So she has inspired me, and she has inspired me to go on and get my first book done. I told her, I said, once I get the first book done, sis, once I get it done, they're going to come right after another after that. I just got to get the first one done.
And this is from Rosemary.
Yes.
Love you, baby girl. I'm so proud of you. Remember, I told you you have the smarts to enter the White House roads.
Oh, I received that one day maybe, but anyway, that's another mama. So that's my oldest sister, my mother's first, and she was the one who also, as a baby, when my mother would work, her and her husband would come and get me, and they would keep me for weeks at a time. Because like I said, my mother always was a hard worker and she worked to provide for all of us. And so Rosemary was one, she was already, gone and married and having her own children. So she would come get me and keep me and, in the summer times. And I remember she was spoiled. My brother-in-law, he had her spoiled. He would even do my hair and she would just sit back and they made sure all the kids, we had something to eat and everything. So, but anyway, yeah. So I love you, Rose.
And you got some hearts there from Ed Saloni.
Yep, that's my friend, my sister. Yeah.
And Ed Saloni says, love you, sister.
I love you more. Always, honey, always. I love you always.
So, can you tell us what are the biggest misconceptions people have about social workers?
That we can save the world. that we know everything. And we don't. But you know what? We don't, but we strive to we make sure we don't know everything, but we do all we can to link you the things we don't know. We link you to those who do, And, we just make sure that you have the resources that you need, and, you know, um, the networks that you need to get you on track to just, you know, yeah. But we don't know everything, Mr. King. We don't,
Look, I
we
know
don't,
that's a lot of work that you guys
unfortunately.
have to do, though. I know.
Hmm.
I said I know that's a lot of work that you guys have to do, though.
It's a lot of work. Like I said, I being a social worker for the years that I have been, and by the time I got out of social work, so literally me doing this with IMPD is just kind of putting me back into the field of social work, because I actually got out of social work and just started doing, leadership roles. Um, like I said, I got into more director type roles, and um, owning my business. And then, like I said, when I went back to get my doctorate degree, it was, I got it with intent to establish clinics. And that will happen someday. It will happen. But for now, look like I'm in a season to where, in the area where I reside, where I'm needed the most, it seems like pulling me back into my social work skills. And that's okay. That's okay, because you know what? I'm still helping people, just not in a clinical setting, but that's okay. I'm still helping people, and being hands-on, and I'm looking forward to that. So, and then as far as my education, being a professor, you know, um, being in the collegiate setting, I'm helping students. I'm, pouring into them and giving them the knowledge, sharing with them to be all that they can be. So, um, yeah. So I'm just, I'm just grateful and thankful to be used in the way that I'm being used, and I can't, not mention another volunteer role that I do that I'm very passionate about, and that's working with a group of pastors. Um, it's a coalition called the Indianapolis Pastors Coalition. I work with my pastor closely with that coalition, and it's been amazing. I have to say, just being in the environment with all those pastors, and um, being close to that anointing, it has really helped me a lot. I have really grown. I've grown, spiritually, not only spiritually but naturally, because a lot of things that the pastors in this coalition that they're passionate about is community as well, is in enhancing the lives of people in the community. They're passionate about the gun violence, and you know um, they've run a campaign called don't lose your cool. So really the work that I'm doing, it just really just coincide, it just goes right along with their mission. And so I'm just grateful to even be a part of that. And just I'm just blessed. I just feel so blessed.
You have another check-in.
Okay.
Um, this one is from Mrs. Strode, RN.
Yes.
Checking in,
Yes.
my sister.
Thank you. Thank you so much. She and I, we go to church together. We go to the same church, and Shelly, I can't wait to have lunch with you this Friday. So hopefully we won't have to cancel on each other. I'm looking forward to the lunch. But yeah, she's an amazing person, and yeah, I'm looking forward to how we can be of an encouragement to one another, and the endeavors that we both are working on, how we can help each other with our endeavors.
So let's transition over to your community engagement and advocacy work, and
Yeah.
how this works in conjunction with your organizations that you've started.
Yeah. So one of the things that I want to mention, and I definitely don't want to forget to mention this, I just recently finished a program called Advocacy Works. And this program was launched by State Representative Robin Shackelford. And man, the vision that she has with that is to choose leaders, those of us who are already leaders in the community and who's making a difference, or emerging leaders, and just get us and work with us and just teach us, learn. We learned all about legislative laws and on a local and state level, and how the legislative process works. And so, I'm grateful and blessed to have gone through that, because any of us that has gone through that program, if we say want to someday in the future, run for a political seat, whether it's local, on a state level, or whatnot, we're prepared and we're ready for that. So I'm grateful for that. And, in that program, we did a lot of community work, hands-on work. We got to go to our local state capitol and spend some time, and, with other legislatures. And we spent some time in DC. We got to spend some time with senators there, and our very own um, Congressman Andre Carson from Indianapolis, Indiana. So we got to spend some time with him there in DC, and participate in Q&A, anything, that we wanted to know more about, regarding, legislation. And I feel so blessed to even have been chosen. I believe it was 23 of us. And just to be a part of that, and with the community work that I've already have done through the years, and just mixed with gaining that extra knowledge, it just, you just feel like you're prepared. You feel like you're ready for something. You don't know exactly what it is, but you're ready for something.
Right.
That's all I got to say. You're ready for something.
Yeah. So can you tell us what inspired you to find, when you found Family Resolution and Empowerment Services?
Yeah. So when I first established that, it's been about 12 years. When I first established it, the business was originally Family Resolution and Mediation, LLC. I was blessed I wrote a grant back in 2012, 2013. I wrote a grant and got that grant approved through the state of Missouri. And that grant allowed me, and it was an ongoing grant. And to this day, I still have that contract. I renew it every year. And I worked with judges. I work with family law attorneys in helping to provide supervised visits for children that had been removed from homes due to some of those things that I listed earlier, whether it was physical abuse or just what they had been exposed to. Caseworkers, of course, get involved and decide that child need to be removed. And before that family can be reunited, a lot of times the judges will, or the guardian ad litems, which are judges for children, they will a lot of times, say that supervised visits have to take place before we even think about reunification, to see if this, family is fit to get this child back, or if we need to do a termination. And what in that setting, a termination mean place a child with a foster parent permanently, or an adopted family. And so I would work with that population. And so that's where my business came into play. And then I'm also a mediator. I mediate family and civil law cases. So being certified doing that, I also would work alongside with other mediators to as co-partners to mediate cases, again, family and civil law cases. So that's what I did, with that business. And then under that contract, I could, hire psychiatrists, psychologists, all those specialties to provide service. But at the time, it was just me and maybe one or two contractors, and I didn't utilize all those services. I just mainly did the supervised visits. And then, of course, on the side, I, did mediation. But yeah, so then fast forwarding, bringing the business here to Indiana, when I when I got the opportunity to partner with IMPD, again, the Indianapolis Metropolitan Police Department, to work with non-fatal survivors and their families. That gave me the opportunity to just bring that business to Indiana as a foreign business. And then I rebranded it and just changed the name from Family Resolution and Mediation to Family Resolution and Empowerment Services, because that's what I will be doing. These services that I will be providing will be empowering ages 8 to 36 and their families, giving them the resources that they need, and connecting them to other partners to get wraparound services, whether that be looking for jobs or just other services like that they might need. So I'm looking forward to it, and just can't wait to see how I can contribute to helping to meet our goal, and that is to get to decrease the number of gun violence that we have in our community, amongst our youth, and just period. We've got to work together here in this community. We've got to get uh, those numbers down. As far as our adults, I did my last research. I did see that we're down. We have decreased since 2023 amongst our adults in gun violence, but we yet still remain in that 15 to 20 in ranking. When you speak of nationally, youth and gun violence, Indianapolis, we still rank pretty high. And we've just got to keep working together here in the community, working with IMPD to help them, and working with the parents to help get this number down.
So, how did your partnership with the Indianapolis Metropolitan Police Department begin?
It actually began with a conversation that I had with one of the deputy chiefs. Um, um, a beautiful young lady that also inspires me. Miss Gervitz. She actually connected me to this gentleman, like I said, deputy chief, and we had a conversation, and it was shared with him of the work that I have done through the years, and in how I could be a great asset to that population, with my skills and experiences and background. And so this was like, oh gosh, maybe 6 months ago, maybe somewhere. It was back in the summer. I do remember that. And so then fast forwarding, I didn't, think anymore of it, as far as, being, you know, being able to be a part of it. And then um, in December, that opportunity it came to me to partner with them. So I'm grateful.
So we got some loving hearts for you again, and you see those. They're
Let me
from
see.
Miss Strode.
Okay, yeah, Miss Stroh.
Okay, and these are supposed to be hands waving.
Okay,
These would be
that's
from
Sean. I love you, son.
and this is Chica. She says, "Hey, Auntie."
I'm trying to see. Is it Tamika? I don't have my glasses on either.
It
Is
says
that
Chica 1248.
is that Tamika?
Oh,
Thumbs up or
oh,
something, or heart?
that's Cheeks. I'm sorry. I need to put my glasses on too.
I bet that's my niece. I think that could be my niece.
Yeah. It says here,
That's
Auntie.
Tamika. That's Tamika in Nashville, Tennessee. So I'm getting love all from Nashville, Tennessee. Thank you. I love you, girl.
This is Hi Mama.
Okay, that's my son.
Okay. And uh this
I
is
love you, Mom. Okay. I love you too.
it says you're doing great.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. I appreciate that. Thank you for that encouragement.
So, what does effective community collaboration look like in practice?
Effective community collaboration, what that looks like is exactly what I just talked about. Um, it takes, especially to combat what we're trying to combat here in my community here in Indianapolis, is to get this number down. Um, this issue that we've had a problem with for so long with youth and gun violence, it's going to take more than IMPD. IMPD can't do it alone. It's going to take the parents. It's going to take business owners like me jumping in there, intervening, offering intervention and resources. Um, the others who have youth programs and, coalitions like the Indiana Pastors Coalition. It takes all of us working together
Mhm,
to be effective in combating this problem
mhm.
with youth and gun violence.
So, what are the unique needs of non fatal survivors of gun violence?
The unique needs.
Mhm,
I would like to just say this. I feel, and this is just what I feel, and then from some research that I've done, I believe a lot of our young people that end up out there on the streets with guns. I believe it starts at home. We need to assess what's happening and what's going on in the home. It could be something like, could be food insecurity going on. It could be somebody has lost their job. It could be a single mom home that there's not adequate income. And you and I both know, Mr. King, these young people now, they like to wear Jordans. They you can't come with no JC Penney. You can't come with no Walmart, no JC Penney, and not even no Ross. These kids, it's like, okay, go online and order. If it ain't 200 plus dollars, it's like, I don't want it on
mhm,
my feet. So these kids, and then it's just a peer pressure. It's just a peer pressure. You see other kids in Jordans and name brand this, name brand that, and you want the same, but your household, can't afford that. So then you go to the street, and then you got what I say, the bad guys. You got them out here with these guns and saying, hey, if you go make this drop for me or this run for me, you get this X amount of dollars, and to make sure you're protected, you got to carry this, this gun,
mhm.
and so it could be something like that. It could be that if they had adequate resources in the home and income, that could be all that is needed to stop that 12, 13, 14-year old from going out on the street and getting a gun. So I say that we need to start paying close attention to the what's going on in the homes and the lack of resources that these families might have, that the reason these young 11, 12, 13 year olds are going out here thinking it's okay to have a gun.
So, how do you build trust with individuals who have experienced trauma?
First you got to listen to them.
Mhm,
You got to listen to them. You got to give them time. You can't rush people who have been through trauma. You
mhm.
can't just meet them and just start asking questions and think that they're going to give you the answers right away, because that's not going to happen. Any rapport that you build, any trust, it takes time. That's with anybody, child, adult. It trust and building rapport, it takes time. And so you got to give them time. And until people get to that point to where they trust you, you just got to meet them where they're at. Whatever, resources that they need, that, you can, tap them into right away. You just do that. And then just, over time, just based on the assessments that you've done, and the needs, and if you see there's individual counseling that they need, or rather, or just mentorship, just connecting them with those individuals that they can build trust and rapport with. And in time, people who have experienced and dealt with trauma, they will open up. They will open up and they will share with you. You will get down to the root cause,
Mhm.
to where you can better effectively help them. Um, and I tell anybody, and I'm sure social workers, if you're listening, you can agree with this. I don't care um, what resources you link them to or how you help them, until they are ready to um, be very transparent with you and totally open up. You can't be totally effective with them um, until you can really reach way down and get them to open up and talk about the deep things.
So, how does your nonprofit Grandparents Raising Grandkids Foundation address gaps in support systems?
Yeah. I am so passionate about that initiative. I look, I established. People didn't understand. They like, okay, she's educated. She has a master's in social work. She's working on her doctorate degree in healthcare administration. Why start Grandparents Raising Grandkids Foundation? What's the deal with that? You know, it wasn't until I moved to Indianapolis, Indiana, and again with me sharing with you the issues we've had here with gun violence. That was one of the driving forces, because then the vision that was given to me, my heart was going out to the grandparents, is
Right.
because when one parent, when there's been a homicide and one parent has been shot and deceased and the other one is in prison, then the children are left behind for the next of kin to raise, and that next of kin is likely to be grandparents.
Mhm.
And so, that being said, they don't always get the support that they need, raising the grandparents. You just got to think, they haven't even had time to mourn the loss of their own child, or, you know, deceased, or rather one went to prison. They have to jump right in there, being the caretakers of their grandchildren and holding it and keeping it together for them. And then they lay in bed at night crying and grieving
Mhm.
alone, and then got to get up the next morning and do it all over again for the grandkids to keep it together. And so you just got to know, they need services like grief support. They need a safe space that they can come and see other grandparents that's going through the same thing and have similar stories, whether that be the loss of a child, their own child, from gun violence, or, it could be, it's not always gun violence. It could be a child that's suffering mental illness and they've had to take on those children. It could be drug usage, substance abuse, and they've had to take on those children. So it's not always gun violence. But the bottom line is, that population, grandparents, they need support. And when you're raising kids, I call them these kids today. These kids today are different than when you
Right.
and I was being raised, Mr. King. They're different. And
Yes.
so you got to go through parenting education, which is, I think, they should go through parenting education, because you can't, discipline these kids like how our parents discipline us. You can't do that. These kids will be like,
Mm. Yeah,
I'm
they
finna
will call
hotline you.
CPS.
They will hotline you in a minute. They will
Yeah,
call or report it in. You
yeah.
look at them the wrong way,
Mhm.
they like, I'm gonna tell my teacher on you. So, you got to take different approaches now when you're working with these children. And so that being said, I think going through parenting education, and then it's important that uh, you know they have knowledge of how to log onto a computer. Computer literacy training is very important, because if you don't know how to log on and work a computer, you won't know how to. These children now, they're good. They're good with computers from that what time they get in kindergarten, age 5.
Mhm.
They know how to work a computer better than their parents, and so they're on all type of search engines looking up things, inappropriate things they shouldn't be looking at. So you as a grandparent, you need to know how to log on that computer, and you need to know how to go to a search engine and look at the history and see what these kids are looking up, so you know how to keep them safe, or what to restrict, or what to, ban them from.
Yeah.
So I think computer literacy is important. I think another thing that's very important too for grandparents is uh, education, legal guardianship education. A lot of times grandparents will get the grandchildren in their care, but they won't go the next step further. They won't go on and get legal guardianship. They just raise the kids but won't get legal guardianship. And what I found, a lot of them won't go all the way because they don't have the knowledge and the education. They don't know how to go about it, how to get legal guardianship, or they, feel like it's an expensive process and they can't afford it, so they just raise the kids without becoming legal guardians. And that poses a problem even in the school system, because as a grandparent, if you don't have legal guardianship of your grandchild, let me give you an example, Mr. King. If that child gets sick and they go to a public school, a lot of people don't know this, but if you're not the legal guardian, and if that child gets sick and have to be rushed to the emergency room and the decisions have to be made, the grandparent cannot make the decision, or the person they're living with. I'm serious. They can't.
Wow. Really?
Yeah, they can't. You have got to be a legal guardian to make a life, death threatening choice, decision about a child. And so that's where the school system comes in. At the school administrators, they have to make the decision of the destiny of what's going to happen to that child. If they found out you're not the guardian, you cannot sign off on the paper. You cannot make a decision. And so it gets very serious. So that's why it's important, if you're going to take a child into your care, into your, custody, you need to go ahead and get legal guardianship so that you don't face those type of issues. And then also, there's a lot more benefits out there for you if you are legal guardian than if you weren't.
Mhm. So we discussed also, we discussed Black History because we do Black History 365. When we were chatting and I asked you who were the most influential
Mhm.
person or the most influential person or persons in your life and career, you mentioned your mother, Charlie May,
Mhm.
and
Absolutely.
Dr. Joan McClennan. Can you tell us why are your mother, Charlie May, and Dr. Joan McClennan the most influential figures in your life?
Again, I think I answered this too soon earlier in the conversation, but I would have to say my mother is the most influential, and reason being is because I know that I get my entrepreneur spirit from my mother. Again, although she only had a ninth grade education, but I watched her from the time I was a little girl, the things that she did to be self-employed with the resources that she had. Um, and I remember one of the things I wanna say, and my siblings, I know they're listening to this, but I remember my mother was well known in the community that where we lived at the time. She, Mr. King, would set out in her front yard. She'd set tables out, and anything she was no longer using or was just sitting there, she would go and just sit everything out. And I remember as a little girl going with her and my stepfather, they would take me with them to the auction, and they would get a lot of things, and she'd come and she'd set it out on the tables. And we'd have a yard full of people. And it wasn't a yard sale. This lady had a store in the front yard. This woman, I remember as a little girl, I'd be like, oh Lord, I don't want all my friends to see all this stuff. I'm like, mama need to quit. but but little that I know, but little that I knew, she was instilling entrepreneurship in me even then. And so when she didn't have what people needed, they would say, Miss Charlie. That's my mother's name, Charlie.
Mhm.
They would say, Miss Charlie, I need an iron, I need a can opener, or I need this or need that. And she'd write a list. She'd have a list of what everybody said they needed, and everybody knew she was the go-to person. And next time they went to the auction, or they drive around whatever flea markets, whatever they saw, and they collect the items and get it and go back, and then people like, oh, you got what I need. So she was the go-to person, because when people can't afford to go to the store and purchase things new, what do? You go to a used store,
Yeah.
right?
Right.
You go to Goodwill, you go to a flea market, or whatnot. So with my mother, you didn't have to waste your gas and drive around and go from yard sale to yard sale. You could just come straight to her and tell her what you needed. And my mother, she did that for years. She would work other jobs and do other things, but you can always count on Charlie. She was going to have her store in her front yard too.
That's what's up.
And so you just got to think, being raised with someone like that and seeing that, look what was being instilled in me,
Yes, and just look at how you flourished from all of that knowledge.
Yeah. So the only difference between her and me is just I got the education to go along with all of that
The other skills.
her. Yeah.
So what do these women represent in the broader story of Black womanhood?
Oh, wow. They represent strength,
Mhm.
resilience, trailblazers, change makers,
Mhm.
sheroes.
That's what's up.
That and some.
Yeah. So how do you honor their legacy through your work?
Oh, wow. People that I encounter, whether it's at church, being a greeter, work that I do in the community, working with people, on the job, stores I go to, any environment, love, the genuine love that I show you, and the care that I show you, and the compassion. It's genuine. It's nothing fake about me. It's all genuine.
Right.
And the only way you can have that kind of love is by having the love of Christ, love of God.
So then I have another question here that if you comment here if you want to answer this in the chat. But some parents are providing gone to their children as gifts. For me, that's insane.
Okay, some parents are providing gone to their children as gifts. For me, that's insane. I'm trying to make out maybe what this
I
what
think
the person is trying to say. Some parents are providing. Is that GONE, gone?
yeah, that's gone.
Providing gone to their children. Guns.
Oh,
Yes. So what she says is some parents are providing guns to
oh,
their children as gifts. For me, that's insane. I totally agree with you. I'm not sure who this is coming from,
this is
Jackie.
that's
Jackie,
Jack
look,
or
Jackie, I
Jackie.
totally agree with you. No child should be provided a gun, especially if you're not going to put that child through gun prevention and gun safety.
Yes.
You can't just put a gun in the hands of anybody, not just a child. I'm talking about adults. Nobody should have a gun in their possession, and you've not gone through a gun prevention and safety training or some kind of class. Because if you have children in your home and you own a gun, you've got to know yourself how to keep those children safe, and keeping those guns locked up with safety on them somewhere where the child can't get them. And if the child do get them, at least you have safety, a safety on, on the your carrier, your gun carrier.
Mhm.
But yeah, I agree with you totally, Jackie. It's insane to me too. I don't understand that, and I'm not saying anything is wrong with guns. Don't get me wrong. I'm just saying if you're gonna own a gun and give it to a child under 18, in my opinion, you need to be over 21. But if you're gonna give it to a child as a gift, even a BB gun, make sure you educate the child on gun prevention and safety.
Wow. And you've got another hey sis.
Hey, I don't
That's
know who
from
it is.
Allo HXS.
Okay, I'm not sure who you are, but hello.
And so, can you tell us what does Black history mean to you personally?
Oh wow, Black History, man. You know, we still got a ways to go, but you know what, Mr. King, we've come a long way.
We have.
And I thank God for uh, Martin Luther King. We can't let this video end without giving him some honor, showing some appreciation and some gratitude for his work. Not only all the wisdom that he shared with us, but even as being a minister, the love of God and instilling in us love. He wanted Black people and white people to work together and love one another. That's what he promoted. That's what he was about. And until we figure it out, until we get it right, you know,
Hmm.
love. Mhm,
I was going to give you the final question for you.
mhm.
How do you incorporate Black historical narratives into your teaching and advocacy?
Um, I would say I'm all about education, educating. It's very important that we educate, not only educate our children on Black history, but just educating our children, period, and promoting to them, encouraging them to be educated, no matter what barriers are there, but keep striving and keep going and get the like my dad told me, get the highest level of education that you can, because now you got a lot of competition and you need education, and not only education but skills. You need skills. If you can't get a degree, at least skill up, so that you're not left without something that you can do to earn a living, to make income. But my biggest thing I would say is education. And in closing, I would like to say this to encourage anybody who's displaced, who's been laid off their job, and who's looking for a job, and who's frustrated right now, who could be fearful of not knowing what tomorrow is going to bring as far as how they're going to survive and live. But I want to leave you with something, that one of my favorite quotes by Martin Luther King Jr. He says, "If you can't fly, then run. If you can't run, then walk. If you can't walk, then crawl. But whatever you do, you have to keep moving forward. So don't give up. Don't give up. Keep moving forward.
Do you
I promise you it's light on the other side.
do you want to provide your website or your social media where people can connect with you?
Yes, absolutely. So, as far as my foundation, Grandparents Raising Grandkids, you go to www dot Grandparents Raising Grandkids Foundation Inc. Again, www dot Grandparents Raising Grandkids Foundation Inc. To if you'd like to make a donation or just like to know more about that program. And then my other business is Family Resolution and Empowerment Services LLC. You just go to www.familyresolution and empowerment services.com. If you'd like to know more about the work that I'm doing under that program. And you can always, connect with me. I'm on Facebook under Dr. Delilah Hood. I'm on Instagram. Um, I believe I'm under there as Delilah One, maybe. But you can just put in the name Delilah. You'll see a picture of my face. It's likely me. It's not probably too many Delilahs out there, but you'll find me. You'll see me. I'd love to connect with anyone who'd like to connect with me. And yeah, I'll be happy to answer any questions or be of any encouragement.
Well, before I close, I want to tell you, Dr. Hood, that this was a wonderful interview, and I want to thank you for, spending this time with us.
Mhm.
And I've got to tell you that again, you are another example of why we do America in Black and White.
Thank you.
And this is because when we clearly see the positivity and the great things that people that look like us are doing,
Mhm.
these are again, you're another example of what we call Black excellence. And see, the Black excellence is what goes into the legacy. And so, being legacy driven and having this excellence, this is what we want people to see, is to know that there are so many people that look like us that are doing so many positive things that we don't know about.
Yes.
And I just have to tell you again, this is why we do this show. And I thank you so very kindly for blessing us with your presence.
Thank you. Thank you. You've blessed me and I appreciate you. Thank you. Thank you for
So,
having me.
so in closing tonight, family, tonight we witnessed the power of purpose, the strength of legacy, and the beauty of a life committed to healing others. Dr. Delilah Hood stands as a reminder that leadership is not about titles, it's about service. It's about stepping into the hardest spaces with compassion, courage, and conviction. It's about building systems where our people can heal, grow, and thrive. Her journey from scholar to social worker, from founder to professor, from advocate to community healer, shows us what is possible when brilliance meets heart and when legacy meets action. She is the embodiment of what happens when Black women lead with vision and love. Dr. Hood, we honor you. We thank you and we stand with you in the work of building safer, stronger, and more empowered communities. To our viewers, keep pushing, keep believing, and keep building. And so I want to thank each and every last one of you that are watching, especially on our YouTube channel. If you have not subscribed and enabled all notifications, I am asking for your support. and ask if you would please subscribe to the channels and enable all notifications. As we broadcast this show live on all 8 different streaming channels, this show is not just about us. This show is about everything that we embody and what we do. I want to thank each and every last one of you and just let you guys know that this is America in Black and White, and together we are hitting the next chapter of our story as we start early here in season 4. I want to thank you all that joined us tonight. Please join us again tomorrow night as we have another great show for you again at 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Thank you, Dr. Hood, and we definitely have to have you back.
Yes, sir. I'll be happy to come back. Thank you so much.